So good afternoon all. As you can see from the front slide here, this is our May Developments in Safeguarding Learning event. My name is Stephanie Freeth. For those of you who don't know, I'm a Policy and Development Officer for the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership, and I will be taking you through our Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy today. Ably helped by Kat, who many of you will know as well, the other Policy and Development Officer. So Kat, feel free to jump in where you want to. Kat's here to keep me honest, effectively.
Okay. Hi everyone. So Kat Morrison, Policy and Development Officer for the partnership. I'll be on hand with any questions in the chat, and we will be running a little bit of a mentee session later. So I'll make sure all those details are in the chat, but it'll be after Steph's gone through the presentation.
Okay. So fantastic. So it's absolutely lovely to see you all today, sparing your time. We're delighted to welcome you and to show you the new version of the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy, so 2025 to 2028. As always, before these sessions, we always like to run through a little bit of housekeeping. If you're a regular attender, you'll know this already. So as you've all done, or most of you have done, if you could just put your mics on mute, because we're aware that in schools and busy offices, sometimes the peripheral noise can be picked up. As you know, if you don't want to be part of the recording or see your face on the recording on the NYSCP website, please turn your camera off. As we've already said, any questions that you have, please do ask them in the chat, or as I said previously, after the session, and we'll be happy to help. So as always, accessing our presentations, as we've said already, we have the NYSCP website. The URL's up there now. You can just Google NYSCP YouTube and it will come up. If you join and you'll get regular updates when we post new videos up on the site. And you can go back and share previous videos of learning events should you want to. So as it says here, don't forget to like and subscribe. As I've mentioned to some of you already, post-course, please complete the post-course questionnaire so you can obtain your certificate. And we're really, really keen on hearing your feedback on what we could do differently or improve and what you like. So it's really, really useful for us. So as the young say, let's get into it. Today, bearing in mind, if there are any questions, Kat will flag up, because I can't see any of your cameras or any of the chat. So if you just flag up to me and I'll stop speaking for a second. So today, the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy, we're really, really excited to share this with you. Thank you for choosing to join us today over many of your lunch hour. So the purpose today in the next kind of 40-ish minutes is to tell you about this strategy in more detail, for you to become more familiar with it, and how this can be embedded in part of your everyday work and your team's everyday work. So in brief, as you can see from the slide here, we're going to go through what it is, what it means to you and the children of North Yorkshire, and how it impacts practice. A little bit of a journey on how we got to the point of where we are now. The strategy was launched a couple of weeks ago on our website, and we're going to go through some of the work that has been done since the last Being Young in North Yorkshire survey, and some of the achievements and how we've supported children in our county over the past couple of years. We're going to then look forward to our areas of priority and focus over the next 4 years and talk about how we came about getting to those priorities. We're going to look at the priorities in detail. As I said, what are our key areas of focus, and how we'll know that that's the collective or royal we as practitioners and partners, have been successful in setting out and doing what we've said we're going to do. So we're going to look at each one of those in detail. And really, really importantly, we're going to look at what's next. As I said previously, how do we embed this into our everyday work, and how can you as partners support getting the message out, and how can we support you to do that? Okay, so firstly, let's look at the purpose. So for those of you that don't know, although I know many of you will be familiar, what is Being Young in North Yorkshire? Well, it's the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership strategy to ensure that all children in North Yorkshire are safe, happy, healthy, and able to achieve. So the strategy sets out how partners, so those of you that don't know, the statutory partners are police, the ICB, or health and children and family service, as well as wider partners in our community and voluntary sector and our education sector, how we as partners will help parents and carers achieve a supportive environment where young people can thrive in North Yorkshire. So as I mentioned already, Being Young in North Yorkshire is renewed every 4 years to ensure that our goals and priorities are clear, they're transparent, and really, really importantly, they're measured. So Being Young in North Yorkshire outlines partners' key priorities and how we'll all work together to achieve this. So just following down on the slide here, so why do we have it? Well, as we'll all know, as we all work with children and families, either directly or indirectly, we know that safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. So we're really clear to have a really clear focus and guidance and strategy that helps communicate the vision, the goals, and the actions to all stakeholders across the children's workforce. So the strategy not only sets this out, but it makes clear our focus on how we as partners can help to achieve this. It also aims to provide clarity on roles and responsibilities, and that all of our practices are effectively coordinated. And as I said before, measured, and also kind of crucially, how they're continuously improving. So looking at coordination and partnership, the strategy also seeks to ensure that statutory guidance is considered and followed. And as I said already, that all safeguarding partners are aware of their responsibilities and the part that we all play in ensuring that children are kept safe. And this is both as individual agencies and working together in a multi-agency capacity. As I've mentioned already, it's about continuous improvement and impact. So to ensure there are clear deliverables and that the progress against these deliverables are tracked by us as partners in the partnership, and that they're really, really transparent. So our proud moments. You'll see from the strategy, and what we're aiming to do today is go through the strategy, but in less detail, to give you a flavour of not only the key areas of focus, but some of the key areas of the strategy. And this is one of the pages we're really proud of, as you can see, proud moments in the strategy. As I said, it's important to reflect on what has been achieved in the past 4 years, and highlighted how you as partners and as a partnership have worked together to support the children and families of North Yorkshire every day. So this is what we call our proud moments, a little bit of a roadmap. So the key priorities of the strategy for the 2021 to 2024 strategy were happy, healthy, safe, and achieving. As I've mentioned already, and if you've looked at the strategy, you'll see that we've kept these 4 key areas for the next 4 years. However, we've developed the areas of focus around each one, which we'll come on to later. I think considering 2021 to 2024, it's worth considering that we were just coming out of the COVID pandemic and the impact that this has had on our children's education, how it's limited their access to friends and family, and how frontline practitioners through 2020 and 2021 across our partnership continued to support our children and families, and in amongst all the kind of uncertainty that was going on at that time. And while we're coming out of the other side of it, we'll all know from working with children and families that our children continue to live with the legacy of COVID. So the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy is written kind of within the context of the changing social construct. And this slide, to get onto it in more detail, shows that journey over the past 4 years. And we really want to celebrate the achievements that you as partners have helped achieve for our children over the past 4 years. There is so much work that goes on across the partnership that it would be impossible to describe everything. So this is a bit of an outline of it. So as you can see, the 2021 to 2024 Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy, we've done lots. We've had Safeguarding Week amongst lots of partners and other partnerships as well. We've had great success in terms of the outcomes for our primary and secondary schools. Just picking out some of these key ones here, looking at my slide, there have been several successful campaigns around the Ask Me campaign and the Day or Night Sleep Right campaign, and the impact of those campaigns. So for example, with Day or Night Sleep Right, those of you who are aware of it, it means that we now have safe sleep included under all child protection plans for children under the age of 1. We developed our YouTube channel with over 25,000 views back in 2023. We've set up Be Aware, the online knowledge hub, which is set up and run by the partnership in collaboration with young people, parents and carers to help prevent and tackle child exploitation. There's also been a MACE strategy. There's been an awful lot of really, really interesting and really, really successful work that we're really, really proud to have been a part of. So moving on to this strategy. So what did we do to get to where we are now that we've launched the strategy? Well, as we've been really clear to say here, the wishes and feelings and what's in our children's best interest remain really central to the decision making of the partnership and the way that we all work together as professionals. So fundamentally, our vision is designed and shaped by our children. We've asked our children about our hopes, their hopes rather for the future, for themselves and for their friends. And we really recognise the importance of seeking creative and meaningful ways to work with children to capture their voice rather than just a tokenistic view of it. So working together and alongside our children. So the partnership has worked from children from the North Yorkshire Youth Commission. Those of you who don't know are a group that enables young people aged between the ages of 10 and 25 to support, to challenge and to inform the work of the North Yorkshire Police and Crime and Fire Commissioner. And they've really contributed to this strategy, making recommendations to ensure that the strategy is aligned with the needs and the perspectives of young people in North Yorkshire. Children from the Commission provided valuable input on what they believed happy, healthy, safe and achieving look like. So our four key priorities. Kat and Hannah visited them back last year, and you'll see some of the artwork that they produced around happy, healthy, safe and achieving included on the slides and within the strategy as well. And they had really long conversations with them about how the goals could be achieved and to ensure that the strategy reflects what they were saying and their different aspirations. As well as that, yourselves as children's workforce practitioners and partners also took part in consultation as well for the strategy. And the strategy is really grounded in practical insights as well that came from all of you. So we thank you for that. There were 3 consultation sessions, and I think we had just over 100 practitioners from across the whole workforce, across the whole partnership. And it was a really, really well represented. There were really, really well represented sessions with lots of people from lots of different areas to really understand what's important to you as practitioners. And this approach allowed the strategy to be built from the ground up rather than top down, ensuring that it's aligned with the actual needs of our families and our communities. We plan to continue with this, to have regular consultation with the children's workforce. Some of you on this call will be members of our practitioners forum. So that work continues, as well as other things like our partnership day, partnership days, which we hold twice a year, DSL conference and other events as well. So it's really, really important that this isn't a strategy that's launched and left. It's a continual process to reflect and feedback and be responsive to the needs of children and families as they change. The consultation is vitally important, as we've talked about already, or as I've talked to you already. And we hope that by consulting children and yourselves, not only is it the right thing to do, but ultimately there's a sense of ownership to the strategy as well, and commitment to the strategy's success, which will ultimately, we hope, lead to better outcomes for children and families. So, as we said, it's been designed from the ground up, priorities in consultation with partners and children, and aligned with data, such as data from growing up in North Yorkshire. And we've been really careful at it being specific to the complex geography of North Yorkshire. As we know, it can be very different in Scarborough as it can in a small village in Craven. So we've tried to take that into consideration as well. So as part of the strategy, we've put together a snapshot of North Yorkshire, and you'll see this within the document itself. As we said, it's really important to understand what life in North Yorkshire for our children is like, as mentioned, due to the complex geography and the differences in different areas of North Yorkshire. As we said, that's meant consultation with children and practitioners. And this page kind of gives a snapshot of what life is like for children in North Yorkshire. And there's further information available in the strategy, so I urge you to have a look at it if you've not already. So what do we know about our children? Well, what have they told us? I'm sure you can read the slide. Some of this information comes from the children themselves and from the Growing Up in North Yorkshire survey. For those of you who aren't aware of Growing Up in North Yorkshire, I think it's just worth saying it's a survey which is undertaken every 2 years that gathers insights from pupils of varying ages across schools in North Yorkshire. So the mechanism is to send it into schools in North Yorkshire for children to respond to. So since its inception, the survey has collected the views, experiences and opinions of children on a really wide range of issues, so health, education, their home life, the activities they take part in after school, risk-taking behaviour and all that sort of thing. And it provides really crucial information at an individual school level, which schools get back to them, to an area and county level as well. And all that information is analysed. The reason I mention this is because not only is this data mentioned on page, but the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy and the Growing Up in North Yorkshire data has been aligned to set the key priorities, which we'll come on to in a minute, and it helps us give a really, really great understanding of what's going on in North Yorkshire. It's insight into our children's lives and what's used by professionals to focus support where it's needed the most, as well as understanding what's most important to our children. So there's been some really interesting data that has come out of the Growing Up in North Yorkshire information, and we'll come on to some of this later. And those of you that have joined sessions a couple of months ago will be au fait with some of this. Largely, the statistics indicate that boys generally report higher resilience measures compared to girls across all age groups, while girls are reporting higher low resilience measures, and this will be reflected in some of our focuses that you'll see later. So, moving on. So what does Being Young in North Yorkshire say? So you'll see on the left-hand side here is our Being Young in North Yorkshire tree. And this is something we'll continue to come back to. The tree is representative of the foundational role of the strategy and all the work done that's done with our children and young people in North Yorkshire. So if you look at the tree's roots, they provide the support and nourishment that our children need. So the roots are really the basis of the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy as well, and underpin and guide every initiative, strategy and task undertaken by the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership. In essence, it's all that we do, and these priorities will continue to be referred to as we work together. So the roots fertilise the way that we work in partnership with each other. So that's our practice model and legislation such as working together to safeguard children and help develop our practice, and includes things like our trauma-informed approach and way of working. So as with the tree, the roots support the various branches which represent, as I've said, different strategies such as the MACE strategy, the child exploitation, harmful sexual behaviour strategy, as well as various task and finish groups and subgroups and different projects that we work on. So that is our tree. So the approach represents and helps foster an holistic and integrated system where partners and initiatives are all interconnected and contribute to the overall nurturing and supporting of the population within North Yorkshire. I'm presuming there are no questions so far because we're all very quiet. So our plan on a page. So we've put together a plan on a page, and most of you will be well versed on the 4 priorities I mentioned earlier and carried through from the previous strategy. As you can see here, happy, healthy, safe, and achieving. And you'll see from the plan on the page, we put this all together because it's a really easy reference document. So if this is the sort of thing you want to share in team meetings, or you want to take into supervision, or you just want a one-pager to explain what it is, this is what we've done for you. So on the left-hand side, you'll see our areas of focus, and you'll see that the happy, healthy, safe and achieving colours correspond with our areas of focus and our signs of success. So as you can see, for our areas of focus, children's mental health and emotional well-being, one of our areas of focus, and the second one being the right support at the right time, so our early help system, and that links to happy. We're going to go through these in more detail in a minute. So as you can see here, we have eight key areas of focus, 2 for each priority, as linked by the colours, and each area of focus has commitments attached to it, and these are what we as partners will work towards. Also as well, at the bottom under the roots here, you can see the blue text here, and these are our 6 principles that we all should be working towards as colleagues and as a wider partnership. So many of these will be familiar to you already, and I'm confident many of these will be embedded into practice already. So we're looking at things like we listen to our children, we believe what they tell us, and that shapes our work. We ensure that we see parents and carers as safeguarding stakeholders, that we work inclusively with our communities, that we a strengths-based, we promote positive and respectful relationships, and that we provide responsive support as and when it's needed. So let's get into this in more detail. So we're going to look at happy first. So focus number 1, children's mental health and emotional well-being. So children's mental health and emotional being, as a partnership, we understand that children need to understand their feelings, both good and bad, and they and their families need to know what support is available to them and when they need it. Children tell us that they would like to reduce the stigma around mental health and mental health issues and have easy access to support based on individual needs. We know, as well as mentioned, that this is a key area of the growing up in North Yorkshire outcomes as well, and that the way that children feel about themselves can be highly gendered, especially as we go through the year groups, with girls having more of a difficult time, if you like, with this than boys. So one of the commitments around this is to promote well-being. So in this, we'll continue to teach techniques to improve children's well-being and ensure that they have trusted adults to confide in. Again, something else that came out of growing up in North Yorkshire about having trusted adults to confide in. As well, we'll build collaborative systems. So we'll work in partnership with, for example, public health to create a common language around children's mental health and well-being, ensuring that services are really needs-led and that we're listening to families again and co-produced with children in our families. So looking at focus number 2, the right support at the right time. So that's our early help system. So that's looking at early help as a system rather than a service. So that's preventing issues before they arise, creating safer, healthier and more supportive environments for children and their family, building on relationships. So working with our partners in the voluntary and community sector, as well as schools and education, as well, about how we empower families to find their own solutions with support from the people that know them best. So the use of interconnected networks based on and building on trusted and established relationships, and actually looking at who is best placed to provide this support, and very much remembering that families are experts in their own families. So going back to what I said at the beginning about early help, so not looking at early help as a service, although they are there to help and support, but looking at everything around families, essentially who is best placed to support the families, who do families think are best placed to support and help them, who do they turn to, who's in their network. So the commitments around this, making sure families are aware of who their local support is, assisting them in leveraging their strengths in relationships and communities. I know that when I was a practitioner, I worked frontline. Quite often when you're talking about family networks and communities, quite often there are communities there are networks there, but families aren't always aware of them and they aren't always at the front of their mind. So sometimes it's about teasing that out. So providing targeted support and seeking feedback. So this is where the early help as a service rather than the system comes into it, continuing to offer targeted support to families, who are in difficulty, ensuring that they receive help at the earliest opportunity, and seek feedback from children and families to understand the impact of those services to help children thrive. Hope you're still there and awake, not falling asleep listening to my dulcet tones. So moving on to our healthy areas of focus. So children start and live well. So we aim for everyone in North Yorkshire to live long and healthy and active lives. The children that are consulted recognise that health, both the physical and the mental aspects, can fluctuate. And I think one young person described it as a roller coaster. And this is rather like being happy, that our young people realise that may not be possible at all times, and actually that it means different things to different people. So in line with this, a key priority of the Integrated Care Board, or health, is to give children the healthiest start in life, ensuring that each generation become healthier adults and that they live longer and they have more active lives than the previous generation. So this is our area of focus that's rooted in this approach. Children start well and live well. So this focus it really looks at children from conception to adult, as I've said already, emphasising the importance of early years in shaping lifelong health and well-being, looking at those first 1,000-ish days of life. So this focus aims to provide opportunities for developing healthy bodies and healthy minds, and doing things like promoting physical exercise, and looking at how this can differ in different areas. Looking at things like participation in sports as children get older, so we know that there's a decline, especially in older age groups, particularly among girls, to make sure that we facilitate healthy choices and make sure that our children are well versed with information so they can make informed decisions. So our commitments around this: addressing health inequalities and promoting healthy behaviours. I've talked about this already. So we'll work hard to address the wider social, economic and environmental determinants around this that can influence our health inequalities and compromise the health and well-being, and ultimately the life chances of our children. So looking at things like poverty and home conditions. Commitment number 2, promoting healthy behaviours. So we'll continue to partner with practitioners and different colleagues such as early years to design and embed campaigns that promote these healthy behaviours. So that's anything from oral health to nutrition, positive body image, physical activity, healthy relationships. One of the things that came up in the growing up in North Yorkshire outcomes was to promote a healthy bedtime routine for our younger children and include information on the correct amount of sleep, as well as things like promoting technology-free bedrooms. So moving over to the right-hand side of the slide, so to reduce health inequalities. So we know the health of our children is influenced by where they lived, as mentioned already, and can impact educational outcomes or future life outcomes. So we want to positively impact children's health and well-being. And to do this, as it's been mentioned already, we must address socio-economic inequality, material deprivation and child poverty. So we'll look at a collaborative approach to reducing inequalities. We'll partner with statutory and relevant agencies, including our voluntary and community sector, housing and leisure services, to ensure a coordinated effort. We'll look at consistent health messaging as well. So as mentioned already, we're working with our health partners and public health colleagues and people like dentists, pharmacists and GPs to ensure consistent health messages are communicated to all families across the county, promoting these healthy behaviours. So as we've mentioned, good sleep already, routines, oral health, nutrition, physical activity, and as mentioned already, healthy relationships. So as I'm sure you'll agree, there's an awful lot to consider and to cover. So moving on, looking at our safe focus. So the 2 focuses here: child exploitation and contextual safeguarding. I'll get my teeth in. Protecting children who are at risk of harm. So looking at child exploitation and contextual safeguarding, many of us will know this is a severe form of abuse affecting our children, the families, and wider communities in North Yorkshire. And we know that there are long-lasting and destructive impacts on our children's ability to have happy, healthy, safe and achieving childhoods. So looking at our commitments around this, we'll commit to a partnership and wider community approach to prevention, contextual safeguarding, and keeping children safe from exploitation, including the continued development of our Be Aware knowledge portal that's been mentioned already, and the Community Partnership Intelligence Portal. We'll continually support those who are impacted. So we'll protect and support children at risk of or experiencing exploitation. So that's doing things like using appropriate language that doesn't blame and label them, and actively pursuing and responding to perpetrators and disrupting exploitation in both physical and online spaces. So looking at protecting children at risk of harm, the commitment around this, multi-agency risk identification and action. So again, working in a multi-agency capacity to identify risks and take appropriate action to keep children safe in our communities. And where it's unsafe for a child to remain at home, providing safe, stable and secure permanent arrangements. So the other commitment, capturing children's voices. So this is about broadening our understanding of what constitutes the voice of the child, capturing things like non-verbal cues, consulting with children in more creative ways, as mentioned already, to ensure that they have meaningful input in their own assessments, plans, and the strategic design of services. At the moment, a Voice of the Child toolkit is currently under co-production with our practitioners forum, and it's being used, the forum is being used for collaboration, feedback, and review, and that will be an ongoing thing. And looking at things like Voice of the Child is not just capturing that voice, but as I've said already, doing something with it, is looking at hearing the child, and where we can, acting on what they're saying to make it really meaningful and useful. I'm conscious of the fact that time is a trotting on, so I'll skip forward. So lastly, our last key focus, achieving. And we really recognise that our children need to see tangible achievements to feel a sense of accomplishment, and that achieving success can look different to different people. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach. That for our children, participating in enjoyable activities, overcoming challenges, and doing what they set out to do and exceeding their own expectations really fosters that sense of self-belief, which we hope will carry them into their adulthood and help build resilience as well. As I said, we know that achievements vary for each child, but we aim to support them in becoming the best versions of themselves. So while educational achievement and learning achievement is undoubtedly important, we have to recognise that this can be as individual as the child themselves, and that children also value other areas that are non-academic: sports, drama, the arts, being a good friend, being a good citizen. And it's really important as well, as children and young people have said to us, to look at their progress over perfection. So this leads us on to our areas focus for achieving. So looking at education and inclusion. So our commitments around educational excellence, working in partnership with school leaders to ensure that children are educated in good or outstanding schools, but crucially where they feel safe and have access to all of the opportunities available to them, all the opportunities that they can, so they feel that they can achieve the full potential. Also, the other commitment, support for all children and around their activities. So looking to strengthen early identification and need-led support for children with special educational needs and other factors that may negatively impact their ability to achieve. We're looking at closing the disadvantage gap, collaborating with communities and partners in the voluntary sector to help develop fair access to all activities for children and their families, and promoting a broad sense of achievement. So moving across to the right hand side of the page, looking at our transitions priority and the commitments around them. So really looking at promoting inclusion and achievement, So promoting social activities, sports and leisure, drama and the arts, vocational learning, apprenticeships, training, work placement, further education, and fostering high aspirations and lifelong learning. So looking at the commitment, number 4, commitment, ensuring accessible support. So working together as a responsive partnership to ensure that support is visible and accessible throughout a child's life, especially during key transitional periods. So that's collaborating closely with health and adult service colleagues to follow the preparation for adult pathway and for children requiring ongoing support into adulthood. We really recognise that with transitions that some transitions are seen as very much being linear, so going from one school to the other can be quite linear, but other things aren't. Things like growing up, generally hormonal changes, so it's taking all that sort of stuff into consideration as well, and championing other sorts of achievements as well in with this around transitions. So our measurables. So how are we going to know that we've done this? The strategy has been written, it's been published, and that's probably one of the easier parts. We now need to make sure that over the next 4 years, we do what we say we're going to do as a partnership. And by we, I mean us as a collective of teams and practitioners. So how will we know that we've achieved, or at least we're on our way to achieving goals? How do we measure it? So progress tracking. I've mentioned it quite a few times already. Looking at the growing up in North Yorkshire survey, looking at the outcome of that data, monitoring and oversight of our multi-agency data, learning and quality assurance. So our ongoing quality assurance, training and audits. Delivering strategies with other partners, for example, social and emotional and mental health strategy, as well as other strategies, including the MACE, contextual safeguarding, harmful sexual behaviour, and early help strategy, which is coming this year. Continuing to promote campaigns and ensure effective feedback with those campaigns, looking at data from our videos, from our website hits, gathering anecdotal data around campaign work as well, looking at continued policy development, ensuring that I've said multiple times already that we're responsible to partner to feedback as well, and including our partnerships and collaboration. So moving on for our measurables, and this is when the Mentimeter comes in. We know that there are several ways that we can collect feedback, as I said, as well as anecdotal information, how we can analyse and respond to trends, both locally and nationally. However, we feel perhaps the bigger questions are, what actions do we need to focus on to achieve success? What are our most pressing needs? How do we know that we've made a difference, in addition to the data? How do we measure impact? We can say that we've done certain things. So, for example, looking at our being safe focus, one of the commitments is a community and partnership response to being safe. But how do we measure to what extent children feel safer? So this is where I hand over to Kat for the Mentimeter, because we're really, really interested in your feedback as people that have helped us create the strategy and ultimately will help us deliver the strategy as well. So at this stage, over to you. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks, Steph. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm just going to share my screen. Just while I'm doing that, if I can ask you all to join Menti. So a couple of ways to join. You've got the QR code in the chat, or you can just go to menti.com and enter the code 43502422. If you don't feel comfortable using Menti, or if you're not feeling it today, that's absolutely fine. And please feel free to pop some comments in just in the Teams chat if that's easier. But for those of you who are on, press the thumbs up once you get onto that screen. You should just see a blue screen that just says Mentimeter with the Being Young in North Yorkshire tree and a little thumbs up right in the bottom of your screen. So I'll just share 1 second. Hopefully that's come up. That come up, Steph?
Yeah, we can see that. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, I can see we've got 15 of you, 16 it's climbing into the chat onto Menti, but like I say, please do feel free to use the Teams bar as well. So as we've already said, Steph's kind of given us a run through of Being Young in North Yorkshire, and we're aware that we've kind of thrown a lot of information at you. You know, some of you might not have seen the strategy or had time to properly digest those areas of focus. But what we really wanted was a bit of a snapshot based on kind of what you've heard over the last half an hour or so of just some of these key questions about how we can kind of disseminate Being Young in North Yorkshire, and also what those key areas of focus will be. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough at the minute. So, Steph, can you just pick up this slide, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Parkat. Okay, so as we've said already, and we can see responses coming through already, so how can we share the priorities of Being Young in North Yorkshire across North Yorkshire? So the next slide kind of comes on into this. How can we embed it into our everyday work? How can we make sure we understand its relevance? How can we make sure that after today, this is a document that is reflected on and fed back over the next 4 years? I can see here, video to share in meetings. Absolutely. Presentation at the safeguarding network. Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, our use of social media as well. Got lots coming in thick and fast. Another social media, news bulletins and social media. Opt-in from all settings and stakeholders. That would make a huge impact. Slides and videos to share across existing partnerships. You don't have to answer now. If you don't want the person who put about the slides and video, you can answer afterwards or put it in the chat. But do you mean this one or something that is different to this one? If so, what do you mean by that? Short emails regularly. I think that's a good one. If anyone's got any tips around that in terms of improving engagement, I'm really conscious of the fact that as practitioners, we all get a lot of information. We all get a lot of bulletins, so it's trying to get messages to stand out. So if anyone's got any ideas on that or suggestions, that would be great. Videos pop up on social media, message bursts for teams. Oh, Odette, you've commented. Yeah, thank you very much. Short and snappy slides. Yeah, and we'll come on to that in a minute. That's why we've produced the plan on a page. It could be that you want more detail than that. So the idea is, rather than, I think when we're all busy and we're juggling multiple priorities, I think to sit and look at a document and really digest it and take it in can be quite difficult. So that's why we've produced the POAP, the plan on a page. So like I say, it's a quick reference tool. It can also be printed if you're old school like me and put up as well, taken to supervision and used alongside assessments, that sort of thing. Focus on each priority one at a time. 1 minute guide. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. What else? Share with health managers to share at team meetings. Absolutely. Something produced by the NYSCP to share in a whole school safeguarding training. I think I know who put that one. Yeah, absolutely. These are great. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. I'll move on to the next question. You're going to have to carry on with the comments because I can't stop coughing, so apologies, but we'll move on to the next one.
We'll carry on. It's okay. Thank you, Kat. So what key actions do we need to focus on based on the 4 areas of focus? So going back to the 4 main areas: healthy, safe, achieving. It's only 3.
So this is just thinking about as well,
Sorry,
like we were saying, there's a lot of we've thrown a lot at you, but just based on that kind of snapshot that Steph's shared, do you feel kind of in your line of work and in your work with children and families, whether or not there are any key actions that particularly jump out and feel quite prominent in your area of work?
So keeping happy, healthy, safe and achieving at the front of your mind. Thank you, Kat. Anna saying early intervention. Thank you, Anna. Safe. Lots of children and young people don't see themselves as being at risk. Yeah, absolutely. Identifying SEND needs as early as possible. Getting the HSB toolkit out there. I was explaining it to a social worker recently. Ensuring curriculum covers these areas. Yep. Ask the experts. If someone could expand on what they mean by that, what that would look like, that would be great. Parental support groups helping and teaching good parenting in all areas. Accessibility service for SEND kids. Continued education around key topics, parents, young people and professionals included. Absolutely. Absolutely. Capturing the voice of the child across services for consistency. As I said, that is something that as a partnership with CAT is working on presently. Any intervention support, we know we need it, but services that can support this. Getting children and young people engaged in focus areas. Not sure if I've got any brilliant ideas about how to do this though. Knowledge shared with children at a very young age with families. I really like this one. Ensure that we have asked adults who have received services if the key actions work for them. Absolutely. Seeing what impact it has the long term, what worked, what didn't work.
Okay, we'll move on to.
Thank you, Nikki.
We've got a couple
Moving
more.
on.
We can just capture before we finish for the day. So a really important one is Steph's already touched on kind of those measurables and ways of kind of achieving success, but how will you guys know if we've made a difference? And probably more importantly, how will the families and young people across North Yorkshire know that we've made a difference with this strategy? So anything that you want to share on this one will be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, going to year-on-year comparisons. Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. Growing up in North Yorkshire, we're really, really fortunate, I think, to have the amount of data we do, both over the time span by which the survey's been running, but also the sheer depth of data amongst the different year groups across the age spans, and the mountain of knowledge that we get and the responses. Yeah, looking at reduced number of suspensions and increase in attendance. Yeah, being more proactive and less reactive. So really looking at early help as a system. Could we do exit surveys following service improvement intervention for families? Okay. I wonder if there's something around, although it's children and families focus around using tools like Mind of My Own as well. Feedback from children. Yeah. Okay. So similar question again. How can we measure or capture the impact of this strategy? Sorry, we're making you think today. So as we've said before, perhaps the easier part of this is writing it and saying what we're going to do. But how do we know that we've done it? Might be similar to some of the other things we've put already. Yeah, inequality metrics reduced. Community focus groups, yeah. Yeah, I really like the sharing good working practice one. I think if we can share good working practice and link it to the strategy, it makes it, well, it certainly did for me back when I was a practitioner, makes it feel more attainable, kind of closer. I think sometimes strategies can appear quite far removed and quite abstract. This is something that a partnership we've really tried to get away from, and part of the reason for the consultation around it as well, to be usable. Families have more trust and a consistent experience. Inspection outcomes, absolutely. Questionnaires. Lots of great stuff. Thank you. Happy, healthier children. Yeah, agreed. Any more for any more? Give you a chance to write. Okay. So thank you. We'll be able to capture all of this information and have a look at it and use it. And like I said, there will be updates, in terms of the strategy, so we can report back on what we're doing and how. Is there any more, Kat?
No, nothing coming through. I'll stop sharing. But all I will say is, if you kind of, for some reason, are mulling over these over your afternoon cup of tea or something like that, and you feel like actually I've missed something really important I want to share, I'll pop the business unit email into the chat, and you can always kind of contact us via that, and just share some of those thoughts. Or if you feel like you need us to kind of come and summarise what the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy is in terms of teams or anything like that, we will make the recording available, so you can always use that. And Steph and I will look at doing something a bit shorter and snappier as well, in terms of a shorter video that you can share during your team meetings. But yes, thank you. That was really helpful. Steph, if you're all right to just pick up the last few kind of for information slides. Absolutely. And then we'll get you away by 1 o'clock.
Absolutely. Can you see my screen?
Yes, that's come through.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so we've looked at our measurables. So very, very quickly moving through to conclude, our priorities are happy, healthy, safe and achieving. Please remember our tree as the roots and branches of the Being Young in North Yorkshire strategy. We've talked a lot about partnership working, a lot about consultation, and we've gathered your thoughts on measurement and accountability. So, and now what? Well, we've talked about this a lot, and as I've said, this was kind of mentioned in the slide. It's the doing now. How do we make this document become something that's referred to and referenced? Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you for listening. As Kat said, we will take this forward. We're really conscious of the fact that it stands on all of us to help deliver this and embed this into children's workforce and make it part of our everyday work. Please remember the plan on a page to use in your team meetings and so on. And again, please come back to us if you've got any questions, and we'll look at doing something shorter and snappier than this. So moving on, just a few things as a business unit to update you on. So some of you will be aware that as of yesterday, a new online referral form has been launched to refer children and young people to our services. The new form is online, so it can be submitted online, and it captures the same information as the existing universal referral form. Just to let you know, referrals can continue to be made using the current form, but we'd really encourage the use of the new form because for several reasons. It's easier, it's a kind of better and more secure way to share sensitive and personal information. It's all kind of in one place. It helps those with accessibility needs. So from this point on, the new EURF as being called is available to you via the website, via the Worried About a Child button, as always. And it's worth saying as well, there are two different forms, and they're both very clearly marked out on the pathway that you'd follow, one for professionals and one for non-professionals. if you like. So on completion of the online form, there is a little survey, short feedback survey. So I'd really encourage you to complete this survey to gather feedback to help with continual development. So as always, we'd like to talk to you about some of the training coming up in the next couple of months over our lunchtime learning events. So we've had ones already this year on vaping in young people, reducing parental conflict, and growing up in North Yorkshire, which are all available on the website. Next couple of months, we're looking at counter-terrorism profile because of the sensitive nature of this that won't be recorded. So that's a live one. So please attend if you can. Then moving through to July, as you can see, a session on self-harm and suicidal ideation alongside Papyrus. Then through to September, through to the autumn months, record keeping and information sharing, and the Voice of the Child toolkit that we've referenced several times. There's an early years session, an autumn session. They're held twice yearly on October the 8th. It's an evening webinar which features the latest information on best practice, changes to legislation and guidance, as well as talking about local, regional and national learning. And just as another reminder that the Safeguarding Children basic awareness training is now available free of charge to all partners, including our BCSE sector. Rushing through with 3 minutes to go. As we've mentioned already previously in previous sessions, the Safeguarding Week 2025 links and booking forms are now opened. We're really pleased to announce the programme for this year, really building on last year's successful event. So safeguarding partnerships from North Yorkshire, the City of York, City of Hull and East Riding, and we've all got together and collaborated to bring you a whole plethora of different training opportunities throughout the whole week. The key message just before is safeguarding is everyone's business. All sessions are free, so we invite you to take full advantage of the sessions available to you. It's over 65 sessions from memory, covering a whole variety of topics. Kat, I'm sure, will put the link, which is also on the slides, but the link to booking via our website. So please do take a look and get involved. So just a reminder, has been mentioned already, our Frontline Practitioner Forum, the next session, as you can see here, is on the 11th of June at midday. Similarly to these sessions, if you're able to and you want to join and you're not a member already, please do email us and ask for an invite. These are very casual sessions, run over lunchtime. There's absolutely no expectation to attend all of them. We fully understand how busy you are, but this gives frontline practitioners the opportunity to share your thoughts, your experiences, and insights into the lives and families, lives of children and families in North Yorkshire. So yeah, next one is on the 11th at 12 o'clock, and it'd be lovely if we could see some new faces there. So finally, you could breathe a sigh of relief. Just to remind you, a reminder of some of our links, including our social media channels, our YouTube page and social media channels. There's also a QR code to scan if you want to sign up to our monthly e-bulletin, where we share a whole host of information, safeguarding updates, changes in guidance, national review, interesting articles, all that sort of thing.